I just realized you guys couldn't hear me at all because this idiot, this complete moron over here didn't realize the microphone was still muted. Oh my goodness. It's that kind of day, guys. It's that kind of day. Let's see if I can just, I can. I'm gonna do that. And then, you know, every time I start a stream or, well, it's mainly starting a stream, I find myself not knowing how to like transition from like prepping the stream, and my face is like super zoomed in, but that's okay. But prepping the stream to just like actually doing the stream. So one of these days I'll get it right. One of these days. But until then, let me slowly but surely get this going. Ba-bam. Okay, sounds fair to me. What's up, Planet Earth? Welcome back to the channel. First and foremost, check it out. I moved over from eBay to TCG Player. You can find all kinds of good goodies, great goodies going on over here. I've got more goodies coming in. Ooh, knocked the mic a little bit. But I've got a lot more goodies coming in, ready to go, ready to come up for you guys to just kind of come and nip at it. I try really hard to kind of like, I don't know, meet you guys at the price, because I'm pretty sure nobody, well, not nobody, I'm pretty sure there's a ton of people that'd be willing to pay whatever the market price is for some of these cards. But like, for example, Thunder Dragon Dark, $14 market price. I'm letting it go for $10. Now, shipping and handling, I didn't have much of a choice. They didn't let me like alter the option so much. So I don't know. It's a setting that I might have to keep looking into and try to figure out if I can like mess with it. If I can, I'm definitely gonna change the shipping price, because I just recently discovered that I can definitely send these cards out to you guys a whole lot cheaper than $5. The only catch is neither of us will be able to track it. Well, it's not entirely true. I mean, like, I can track it, but you wouldn't be able to track it. So if you're curious about where the item is, like if you guys ordered Thunder Dragon Dark, you'd have to contact me, and then I'll let you know when the item was sent out and when you guys can anticipate the arrival of your item. So go ahead and check out the link below. I don't know how close I am to the camera. I'm like super far away, but I'm super zoomed in. But anyways, I'm gonna change the camera angle too, so that way it looks like I'm talking to you directly, and I am talking to you. Anyways, so I lost my train of thought, but go ahead, check out the link below. Keep in mind, this is essentially how this supports the stream to keep going in terms of the content that goes on. I'll still be doing other kinds of things, but I wouldn't be able to essentially do a lot of like box openings or anything like that, because well, as Yu-Gi-Oh players know, box sets can be kind of expensive. So a lot of these cards essentially pay for those box sets. If I pull something nice, if not, regardless, the point is that it's kind of like a recycling method. You guys want more content? If you don't want to buy cards, then just simply swinging by, type in the chat, say hello. That also helps out the stream a lot more. I had like a burp or whatever the case may be. I remember to bring water this time, even though that I just like drank a water bottle and a strawberry acai from Starbucks. Shout out to the girlfriend. Anyways, there's the water. Moving on to shoutouts. Talking about shout out to BMX6050. He just recently purchased the Ghost Spell, and so I'm hoping that he's having tons of fun with that card. And he actually bought it for less than a market price. I usually try to go a little bit less than a market price. I think the market price for that card currently is like $50, 40. You know, I think it was like 47. So, I mean, it's not that much less, but I mean, it's less. Either which way, shout out to you guy. You the guy. You're the reason why I can provide different types of content for this channel and for your enlightenment. Moving on to the main purpose of this stream, basically the main purpose of this video for those of you guys that might be watching it on YouTube. I'm sorry, got distracted by my phone. Summon Sorceress. Should Summon Sorceress be banned? Should it not? Now, this was a conversation that occurred a while ago. I would say probably when Summon Sorceress first came out. Some people were also still contemplating that it should be, or it's going to be banned, but it's not going to be banned because it was a part of the special edition set, and obviously Konami's not going to ban a card that's selling sets, such as, you know, Firewall Dragon, until Firewall stops selling sets, because we all know this stuff that Firewall was selling is no longer selling. So they went ahead and banned the card. But Summon Sorceress is an interesting card for a couple of reasons, right? So one, it's a play extender, at least in my personal opinion. It's a play extender. It doesn't essentially win you the game, right? It's not like a soul charge that definitely wins you the games, or like create insane loots with, per se, Gumblar Dragon, or like maybe what's his name? Armageddon, things like that. So again, it's one of those things in nature where it doesn't create essentially a loop. It doesn't create something that's so insanely annoying to deal with as an opponent playing against this card, and it doesn't create something that makes a player say, break my board, you know what I mean? So that's one reason why I personally don't think Summon Sorceress should be banned. Other reason is people, like, at least in most deck profiles that I've seen, people only realistically run one copy of Summon Sorceress in most of their decks. It's very rare that I see two, maybe I'm not going to say three because nobody runs three, but it's very rare that somebody runs two of these in their deck. It's mainly because you want to pull out whatever it is from your deck out into the field if you don't have it. And most decks nowadays they always have an access to a card that is still in the deck that they're trying to pull out. Some decks might need a little extra hand, right? So the deck that I run, the ABC Cyber Dragon, obviously it's going to need extra push, but that doesn't essentially mean that my deck won't live without this card. The deck can survive without this card. It just extends the play. Now, more often times, at least in my personal experience, that's all it did. It just extended the play. I've always been able to just kind of build the board that I've always want to aim to build without this card. But with this card, I'm able to do a little bit more. So it doesn't create, at least for me personally, it doesn't create a board that can't be beat. I think every board can be beat, minus the FTKs, because first turn kills, right? What am I talking about here? But in that retrospect, Summon Sorceress doesn't remain on the board long enough to say, hey, I'm a part of this unbeatable board. You try to beat me. So Summon Sorceress is one of those cards where it's fairly kind of like it's like that one instant fusion that extends the play, or that one card searcher that can search another card. So it's not like the key player of the game, basically, or of any deck. I would say I'm trying to get my life together over here in my hand. I would say Summon Sorceress is just an extender or a connection, so to say. On to the next reason. The monster's effects are negated when they're on the field. So you can't do a lot with the monster per se in it within itself. However, it does provide link opportunities. It also provides grave opportunities, right? And so that's where the ghost spell mechanic, that's where give me Mizuki, give me another one, Gozuki, another monster in the grave effect, performance, trick clown, things like that. That's where their effects kind of pop off. So again, the monster for the most part while it's on the field is useless unless you're using that monster to link unless you're using that monster to fusion summon, unless you're using the monster to extend or overextend something, or to even just get over something per se. Like if a monster's like, oh, if this card's special summon, go ahead and send this card to the graveyard, send another card to the graveyard, boom, done deal. It's one of those things. Well, that's actually a horrible example because that effect is negated. But per se, the cards like Glow Up Bloom, right? You just whip out Glow Up Bloom straight from the deck if you need access to Glow Up Bloom. Boom or Bulb? I think it's Glow Up Bulb. Since I have the search over here, it's Glow Up Bulb. Yep. So Glow Up Bulb. Use Summon Sorceress. You get Glow Up Bulb out. You link Glow Up Bulb away. Use Glow Up Bulb's effect. Bring it back out, and you can link it again. It's like a very balanced mechanic of level leader, but it's not a one card level leader. You know what I mean? It's basically, hey, whip this monster out that can whip itself back out, and you can only realistically do that twice, right? Using Summon Sorcerer's effect, and then using the card's Grave effect. Now, keep in mind, it's a Grave effect, so you gotta find a way to send that monster to the graveyard first to be able to effectively use Summon Sorceress to its full capability. Another thing I personally came across is I don't really use her link summoning mechanic. Now, does that mean nobody uses it? No. I'm pretty sure everyone that uses this deck in a higher tier based deck uses her link summon special effects. For those of you who do not know, when this card is link summon, you special summon a monster from your hand to your opponent's side of the field in defense position. That's it. Now, and in face value, it seems super frivolous. It seems like a very negative thing to do on your part, but it coincides with her following effect. And what is that following effect? Well, you special summon a monster that's the same type that this card points to. So that's why she has a marker that points upwards. You special summon your monster that's the same type of monster you're trying to get from the deck out onto the opponent's side of the field where she points to, then use her other effect to get the monster you're trying to pull out from the grave out onto your side of the field so you can manipulate in whatever which way you want to manipulate it. Now, here's the other thing. If you play, per se, like for me, for example, I play the ABC mechanic, and if I need to get a search out and I have a bee in my hand, I can link Summon Sorceress out, I can send the bee out to my opponent's side of the field, I can probably find a way to get B to the grave, and when B hits the grave, it doesn't go to my opponent's grave, it goes back to the respective owner, which is mine, so it goes back to my grave, and then I'm trying to move over a little bit, and then I can use the search effect. So again, it's one of those things where it's like the luck of the draw, but it's not the luck of the draw. I don't know how to explain that essentially, but it's one of those things where it's a mechanic that can be used, but it's not a mechanic that locks out your opponent from being able to play or being able to beat you per se. So that's another reason why I feel like Summon Sorceress should not be banned. So those are just basically my perspective. I've heard very minimal conversations about Summon Sorceress, but a lot of the times it was kind of like when the ban list hadn't came out yet, it was kind of like a lot of the, oh, Summon Sorceress is going to get banned. Summon Sorceress isn't going to get banned because she's part of a special edition set. Well, I personally don't think Summon Sorceress will ever get banned, and I think that was the same lingering concept as Decode Talker when Decode Talker first came out, and I think people were like, oh, he should be banned, but you know, Decode Talker's balanced per se, because send away your guys, because Decode Talker points 2 down and 1 up, and your opponent is smart enough to not put a monster where Decode Talker points to, unless tributing that monster benefits your opponent in a similar or more better way than what you aim to do with that, right? So it's like Decode Talker is good and isn't good. Same thing with Summon Sorceress, good and isn't good. So in my personal opinion, Summon Sorceress is relatively balanced enough to stay in the game. A lot of people at most only run her at 1, and she doesn't break anything. She just extends the play. So that's my perspective of why Summon Sorceress should not be banned. I was thinking of another card off the top of my head, and it's slipping my mind. Maybe someone can like shed some light or something. It was a card that I was just like, oh, it shouldn't be banned, should not be banned. You know what? Whatever the card it is, we could probably say it for another time. But for now, um, I want to thank you guys for hanging around, checking it out. Uh, Let me know in the comments below what you think should happen with summon sources. She just be left alone, or is she just the card that lingers? Oh, I remember the other card. Um, this is like an old conversation that happened, and in my personal opinion, I am flustered because this is the card I want, not because it's a great card, not because it's a trap card or whatever. It's for it. You know who's in that picture? That's Cyber Dragon Infinity. I'm a fan of Cyber Dragons. I want the card just to for it to be part of my collection. It's not even I want the card to run it. So why why is this card $100? I should change the title of this thing right now. Hold on, we're gonna change this title. We're gonna change this title so hard. Why is not infinity, infinite impermanence? I think it's currently $90, right? $90. And we're gonna hit done. Well, another thing, I hate the new tag mechanic that they have going on here on Twitch. I wish we had the old tag, the old tagging mechanic. But regardless, infinite impermanence. What does it do? Basically, it's a hand trap that's a trap card. So equivalent to like evenly match, it's a hand trap that's trap card. But there's a huge difference between infinite impermanence and evenly match. Evenly match says banish every card except for one card on at the end of the battle phase or during the battle phase. I don't remember. I think it's the end. And infinite impermanence says negate a monster's effect. One monster's effect. You know what else does that? And everyone knows this, but I want to contribute to this conversation because why? I need someone to explain to me why the card is $90 and not the similar price as Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler basically does the same thing. Now, some people or someone has told me, hey, Infinite Impermanence is $90 because if this card was set, you can 1, negate a monster's effect, and 2, shut out one spell or trap zone. But nobody, it's like not every deck uses all 5 spell and trap zones. So I can get when this card first came out, and I think Pen Magicians were still like a huge thing, I can get how that mechanic really, really worked out because you just put it on the far left or the far right and you completely shut him out of a pendulum zone. Okay, that was a brilliant tactic. That was probably why the card was valuable. But to say that it was $90, that's an extreme, right? So what does it do now? Not a lot of decks keep a back row anymore, and so when you're shutting out a column, it's like, okay, well, I mean, I have 4 other spaces to put spells and traps. I don't have to use this one space that you nulled. Now, that's first off, that's under the assumption that they don't already have a card there. So it's one of those situations or scenario where it's just kind of like, hey, yeah, I can guess where you're gonna activate a spell or a trap card, right? For example, per se, someone had a Vampire Sucker. We'll use Vampire Sucker as an example. Vampire Sucker, right? Vampire Sucker says, hey, if a zombie monster special summon, draw 1 card. So let's say it had Vampire Sucker out in the field, and then they had a Monster Reborn. And then they activated Monster Reborn. Just so happens to be in the same column as Infinite Impermanence. You can literally negate 2 cards in one shot. Okay, I can get where the value is there. You negated Vampire Sucker, sure, and you also negated the Monster Reborn, sure. Now, it was the first 2 cards that came to mind. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more significant examples I could justify this, but again, like, you're guessing what zone they're gonna use at that point, because they're not gonna tell you, oh yeah, I'm gonna use this middle zone, so you can go ahead and set your impermanence aligned with this middle zone right here. Now, you can probably study your opponent's playing behavior and kind of acknowledge what zone they use the most. And in that sense, it could be like, oh yeah, okay, let's just set it in this column in coordinates to that column because he's gonna use that column the most. But even then, your opponent's gonna be like, oh, this person's got a set card, and it's in this column. Maybe I should dodge this column my entire turn and still get away with a bunch of things. It's Infinite Impermanence. I strongly disagree with the fact that it's worth $90, but whatever. In my personal opinion, I think the players made this price because there are people willing to pay that amount of money for this card. And what sucks the most is this card is short printed, so I'm pretty sure if you just buy a whole box set, I'm trying to close this ad over here, but if you try to buy a box set and try to Flames of Destruction, I think is where this card came out in, and then try to pull the card, you have a horrible percentage or chance of getting this card. So it is what it is, man. I hope you guys have a great night. Go ahead and check out the link below. Again, the link below takes you over here. I'm going to put up a lot more stuff. I assure you that I try to be more accommodating to prices because I know a lot of people want to build some budgeted things. And you know what? A lot of these cards aren't that, well, at least in my personal opinion, aren't that close in reach. But without further ado, if you guys need anything, and if it's not on that list, feel free to just kind of shoot me a message. Hey, do you have this card? I can take a quick look at what I got and see if I do. And if I do, I'll let you know. If I don't, I'm infinitely sorry for letting you down. But without further ado, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion, and I will see you in the next one. See, now I gotta look to the complete opposite side to end everything, to end the recording, to end the stream, just end everything.